Members of the jury, let me first commend you for the very careful attention that you have been paying to the testimony in this case and to the arguments of counsel. It is a rather unusual case. The plaintiff, Florence Doolin, is seeking a verdict at your hands against Agnes Rowland, administratrix of the estate of James Porter, deceased, the defendant. It is the contention of the plaintiff that she, a stranger, not related to James Porter, rendered valuable service to Mr. Porter beginning in 1945 and up to March 19, 1956. When Mr. Porter died, that there was no payment in cash made by Mr. Porter to Mrs. Doolin during that entire period, about 11 years, that she did receive her board and lodging, but that she was promised by Mr. Porter that he would compromise her or compensate her for her services by providing in his will for her. That, in general, is the contention of the plaintiff. She says that no will was found making any provision for her after Mr. Porter's death, and therefore, she says, she is entitled to receive from the estate of Mr. Porter, from the defendant in this case, the reasonable value of the services which she rendered in reliance upon the promise of Mr. Porter to compensate her by providing for her in his will. To substantiate her claim, she produces the testimony of a large number of friends and acquaintances of Mr. Porter and of Mrs. Doolin. It isn't necessary to review in detail all of the evidence submitted by these various witnesses, but it is sufficient to summarize that testimony with regard to the services rendered by Mrs. Doolin in the following brief sentences. Then you have another problem. It is admitted in the pleadings that beginning June 15, 1945 and up to February 1st, 1946, the plaintiff, at the request of James Porter, acted as his housekeeper and cared for his sister, who was then ill and incapacitated. It is also admitted in the pleadings that $35 per week was the fair and reasonable value of the services rendered during that rather short period. Mrs. Doolin, according to the testimony, continued to act as the housekeeper in the various homes to which Mr. Porter removed from time to time. She did all of the housework, cooked, cleaned the house, did a lot of extra work in the way of taking care of apartments which were rented to tenants in the house which they occupied as their residence, and also in the other house on 6th Street, which was owned by Mr. Porter, that was rented out. There is some testimony that she also helped in taking care of merchandise purchased by Mr. Porter in his business, that she helped to make that merchandise saleable. You had the testimony of Mr.